Howdy folks, Rob MaximumRD back again, and this time I am back in order to do a video response. Now, I was actually tagged some time ago actually, and I'm gonna tell you, you better strap yourselves in and get yourself a drink, maybe a snack. I'm gonna spill some Coke on the new desk here. And have some nice Coke to rot my gut and my teeth. So let's make it a nice big glass here. Yeah, this is going to be a long video, folks, so if you're not interested in the subject matter, you might want to go do something else. But if you are interested in the subject matter, which I'm going to explain to you right now, this fellow here tagged me some time ago actually, and it was for the topic of top 5 horror icons, and I was one of the 3 people he personally tagged. I said I would get to it. I wasn't too sure when I could do that. It was some time ago, so he probably thought that I wasn't even going to be doing it, but surprise, surprise, sorry, here I am doing the tag. I hope my answers will be a little different from most people's. So let's get right to it. Alright, I want to show you folks some things. A little visual aid along with my comments. So top 5 horror icons. My top 5 picks right here. Alrighty, now I'm going to start off, and some of you can gripe and complain about this, but I'm choosing 2 in my first pick. Why? Because to me, and again, I don't mean to offend anyone who's a big fan of either one of them, but to me, these 2 guys, they kind of fall into the same category, and that would be Jason Voorhees, good old Jason. Kill, kill, kill. You all know him, you love him, and star and main character in all the Friday the 13th movies. And the other guy to go along with him is Michael Myers. Now it's funny because a lot of people actually tend to really prefer one or the other. And I love them both. I think they're great. And to me, the reason I group them together is because the similarities of the 2 characters, Mike and Jason. What I like of them, you know, they both wear a mask for the most part. Usually they're both wearing a mask. They're both very what's the word, I guess, patient when it comes to their technique of killing. Both obviously are in the genre of film known as the slasher film, where you get a lot of imaginative and grisly deaths. I would probably say Jason is probably a little farther ahead, simply because he's been in so many more movies. Although I'm sure Michael's catching up now, but basically after, I think, what was it, the second one, the Michael Myers movies got pretty bad and silly. Start having rap stars in them and all kinds of silly premises. And then, of course, then you had the remakes of the 2 films by Rob Zombie. I think that's a whole separate little thing that I really don't want to... it's a can of worms I don't really want to open at this point. You can have your comment and say on those. But as far as the original, let's say at least the original couple films for these characters, well, with the first movie with Jason, actually a lot of the killings took place, and it wasn't really even about Jason. If you've seen the first movie, it turned out to be his mom. It was only beginning with the next film that it was actually Jason Voorhees. Yeah, they're very slow, or seemingly slow, and yet they always manage to get their victim, because to me there's something mystical about them. I mean, obviously they both seem to have come back from the dead. I mean, even in the Halloween movie, with the things that Michael Myers suffered, you know, from a coat hanger to the head to bullets and falling out of a window, and then, you know, later just to disappear and then reappear at another time. You know, there's got to be some mystical forces at work here. Jason, well, we know for sure he's been macheted, he's been cut up, he's been electrocuted, he's been basically food for worms, but he always manages to come back. So even more mystical and mysterious, I would say. But yeah, those two guys, the strong silent type, similar in their techniques and their killing styles, and yeah, I just find that there's probably more similar between the two than there is actually differences. So again, all total due respect to both camps, both fans of each iconic character here. But yeah, I'm picking them both for my first choice, and well, if you don't like it, lump it. I don't care. Alright, so next up we have Freddy Krueger. Good old Freddy Krueger. It's Freddy Krueger, Mom. Freddy Krueger. There he is, awesomely portrayed, as you know, by the one and only Robert Englund. Awesome guy, always into many, many horror films. His personality, his character. I mean, let's face it, you know, they did a remake with, what's his name? Oh, I can't even, sorry, it escapes me. You know, the remake they did a couple years back with the guy that was in Watchmen, and let me see here, I'm sure I can find some information on that. But anyways, you know, I thought he did good, basically. I don't really blame the guy for not wanting to try to imitate him or anything like that, because, well, you really don't want to do that. There's just no point. Nobody does Freddy like Robert Englund, so it's probably better that the guy in the new movie didn't try to imitate him. Let me just get that information right there. I feel sorry about this, guys. I should have done this beforehand. I did most of it beforehand, but I'm just kind of going off of memory here. Let's see here. So, is it the remake? God, so silly of me. Okay, so 2010, right? Yeah, that's the one. This has got to be the one, because it's got, yeah, Jackie Earle Haley. And again, all respect to Jackie Earle Haley. You know, it can't be easy having to take on Robert Englund's role as Freddy. So yeah, he just did it his own way. I don't think he was trying to imitate Robert Englund, because obviously that would have been very foolish to try to do. Really, I can't think of anybody who could have replaced him. So yeah, you know, it was okay, I guess. Whatever. Anyway, enough talk about the new film. We're talking about the original Freddy as portrayed by Robert Englund, and just amazing, absolutely amazing. I like the character because, as has been mentioned, you know, he's basically got the power of dreams. He can suck you into his dreams and basically use you as a puppet and put you in a world of his own making, and that's just cool. When I saw the movie originally, that scene where Nancy wakes up and has his hat, that just creeped me out, because just the concept of the dream world and real world colliding and crossing over, and basically, you know, once you can do that, it's, as you've probably seen from all the Freddy movies that followed, there's just no there's no limits. You can do anything, basically. So, and they really did get very imaginative with several of the movies. A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, the Dream Master, I quite like that one. And then was it 5? I think 5 was the Dream Warriors. I love the Dream Warriors. That was really cool because now you had some kids who were actually using the dream world against Freddy, which, well, you know, pretty much still backfired in the end, but it is Freddy, so you're not going to keep him down for very long. So there you go. Freddy is my number 2 pick because, again, as I said, I threw Jason and Michael into the number 1 slot. Freddy is the number 2 pick. And my 3rd pick, we're going to go old school here because from the time I was a kid, my favorite of the original Universal monsters, the Wolfman. The Wolfman, loved him from the original 1941 movie. As a kid, I'd run around, you know, pretending to be the Wolfman. If we ever played any kind of games with monsters, I was the Wolfman. I just love werewolves. That hasn't changed. I don't know what it is. You know, you got your vampires who there's everything from a society to politics to rules with vampires, but there's just something about the werewolf that it's primal. It goes back to basics, and he's a character that you feel sad for because he's cursed, basically. And part of that curse is to kill the ones that he loves. And I just love the Wolfman. And the portrayal by Lon Chaney Jr. in the original 1941 film, from the first moment I ever saw it, the Wolfman was my favorite monster. At least if you want to talk about the original Universal series of monsters, which would be, of course, your Wolfman, your Frankenstein, your Dracula, your Mummy, Invisible Man, all those characters. But the Wolfman, always my favorite. Love the original Wolfman. You just gotta love it. So there you have the Wolfman. Okay, so that is number 4. Okay, and now for number 5, and I got a lot to talk about with this one. Number 5. Oh, let's just get rid of a couple tabs here. Now, I was very close to giving you another Universal monster with Bela Lugosi as Dracula. I was very, very tempted to give you that one. But for my last one, I've gone a little different here, and I chose Nosferatu. Nosferatu. Why? Because I find it very interesting. You know, the idea of the vampire was in books and plays and even movies long before the famous Dracula, original Universal Dracula with Bela Lugosi. And truly, you know, he captured that image of the Dracula we all know with the cape and the eyes and the, you know, walking in the room with the "I want to suck your blood," this type of character that we all know. But Nosferatu was very interesting because it was a German expressionist horror film directed by F.W., I believe it's Murnau, I believe, starring Max Schreck as the vampire Count Orlok. Now, it's interesting because clearly it was Dracula. We knew it was Dracula, you knew it was Dracula, but this all had to do with the fact that they couldn't obtain the rights to the actual book or character or anything like that. So their way of getting around this for these German film creators were to basically come up with their own character, change the names and the setting and things like that, and basically come up with Count Orlok. And that was a film released in 1922. It was shot in 1921, and it's an unauthorized adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula. Okay, which with, as I said, names and other details changed. So that's interesting in and of itself. But what's really cool, I like it because I think the design that they came up with for Nosferatu, I don't know if you can see him there, it's again, I mean, he's dressed well, and I guess reflecting the time period, but again, you look at him with the glowing eyes and the long extended pointy fingers, the pointy ears and the fangs, and he very much looks like, you know, maybe a bat taking the form of a man, a creature of the night, disturbing definitely, and creepy and eerie. And this is how he looks. I mean, that's just the way he looks. So there's no, you know, romanticism there. There's no trying to make it look like he's a high society type of character. And I found him actually a lot creepier and spookier than Dracula was. Now, a couple things that I wanted to point out also about it, I think this is really cool, is the character was so creepy and eerie looking that Nosferatu was the model or concept used when they made the television series Salem's Lot. There was a character called Mr. Barlow, turned out to be a vampire that was living in the basement of the building. And so if we look again, this is Barlow. Okay, so Count Barlow, and when he made his appearance the first time in Salem's Lot, it was pretty creepy. See, there you go, Salem's Lot, and it was just a really cool, eerie series. I remember being very young and watching it on television and watching each episode as it appeared. And it was a creepy series. I believe there was two brothers, and one of them got taken over and turned into a vampire, and he comes to the room scraping on the window asking his brother to let him in. Of course, this would have given him permission to come in. And that scene, that's one of the scenes that creeped me out as a child so bad. But anyways, the main character, Mr. Barlow, as I mentioned, they decided to go with this design. And again, if you look at Barlow, okay, so there's Barlow, and then you look at our original Nosferatu. Let's see here. I'll try to get actually a better shot. There we go. Oh, this is actually a much better example. There we go. Count Barlow from Salem's Lot. Okay, and get a better picture of Nosferatu. There. Oh, here we go. We'll go with this classic shot. Nosferatu. It's obvious that they got the idea. I mean, I don't even have to prove it to you. You can read interviews and information about Salem's Lot and Mr. Barlow, and they clearly state that they use the concept and idea of the original Nosferatu for the design. So, really cool, at least I think. Creepy for an old film of the time. And now my last bit of little tidbit of information. Some of you may know of Nosferatu and the original film, and I highly recommend, if you ever get a chance, you can see it's got 6.9 on IMDb here, Shadow of the Vampire. Shadow the Vampire, starring John Malkovich and Willem Dafoe. And what's really cool is the concept here. Basically, I'll read the description. The filming of Nosferatu is hampered by the fact that the star is taking his role more seriously than what seems humanly possible. And so basically, the idea or concept that they're playing at in this is the very old Nosferatu is actually an old vampire. I mean, really a vampire. And so we have John Malkovich as the director. What's his name again? Let me get the character list here. Yeah, John Malkovich as Friedrich Wilhelm Murnau. Okay, so he's the director using a real vampire, and we have portraying Max Schreck, or see, he's supposed to be portraying the actor Max Schreck, who is actually Nosferatu. He really is a vampire, and it's portrayed by Willem Dafoe, and my God, he is amazing. The film is actually quite comical in certain places. Obviously, it's more of that dark kind of comedy, but even if you look at Dafoe, see, in the makeup, they probably didn't have to use much as the actor Max Schreck as Nosferatu. He's just hilarious. He was the perfect choice. I couldn't have cast it better. So Willem Dafoe, my hat's off to you. You made this film something special. Of course, Malkovich as the director, just absolutely amazing. So if you're into Nosferatu and you're into that whole silent film horror movie era, I highly recommend you check out Shadow the Vampire because it's so cool. But yeah, that's my last pick, Nosferatu. And I guess that'll wrap it up. So there you have it, WASPSPRAY. I know it took a while, but I hope it was worth it. Rob MaximumRD out. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye. Derp, a herp a derp. Yeah, duh, I forgot one. So I'm tacking it on the end here before I edit this together and upload. I'm not going to reshoot the whole video. I'm just adding this choice here, this pick for my real fifth horror icon. See, I got mixed up on the whole thing. I thought I'd play it by ear and wing it, and by having Jason and Michael in the first spot, I ended up messing myself up, of course. So let's recount just before I announce my last one. Jason and Michael, Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers in the number 1 spot. In the number 2 spot, we had Freddy Krueger. The number 3 spot, we had the Wolfman, the original Universal Wolfman. In the 4th spot, we had Nosferatu. And now here in the 5th spot, my final choice, good old Frankie Baby himself, the monster. And yeah, let's be clear, he is the monster. He's not Frankenstein, he is the monster. And this is something people mention a lot. The creature, or the animated corpse that Dr. Frankenstein creates, is the monster. But there has been confusion over the years. You may have seen James Rolfes, aka the video game nerd. He did a retrospective. He does them every Halloween, and he talked about the Frankenstein movies. He pointed this out too. It can be quite confusing sometimes when people refer to the creature as Frankenstein. It's even been a mistake made in some of the movies afterwards. So, you know, you're forgiven to do the same. But basically, we'll go from this point calling him Frankenstein. But to be clear and to be, you know, official, he is the monster. He's the creature. He is Frankenstein's monster. But we'll just call him Frankenstein for short. So obviously, the original 1931 classic Universal Boris Karloff, as he went on to portray the monster in several films afterwards, but he was just amazing. And we had, of course, Baron Frankenstein, portrayed by Freddy Krueger. But another one I loved as a kid, I think one of the reasons being, I'm a pretty big guy. I'm 6'4", and I was 90% of the time, now probably more, probably 95% of the time, I was always the tallest kid in my class. So quite often I kind of felt like the Frankenstein monster. I was also very skinny, so I was tall, gangly, skinny throughout most of my childhood. So again, yeah, I also always felt like this big lump walking around. So I kind of identified with Frankie. And so that's why I loved him. the first time the creature appears. And I always, again, saw him not as, I wouldn't say a victim, but a poor, lost, tortured soul. I mean, I don't think that he intends to do wrong. One of the problems, of course, being, well, probably somewhat mentally challenged, is the fact that he has brute strength that he has no control over, and he doesn't realize some of the things that he does are wrong. You know, in the original film, he comes across this little girl playing in, by the lake here, and unfortunately, as she tosses in petals of a daisy into the water, and Frankenstein, wanting to join in on the play, well, basically tosses her in the water and she drowns. And it was a very unfortunate mistake, but I don't think he meant it. He just didn't know what he was doing. Then, of course, people come, he panics. Because of his appearance, he's always judged and attacked before anything else. You know, that's why it was a great scene when he finds a cabin in the woods, and he has a drink and a smoke with the old man, who doesn't see him for his appearance. He just sees him as someone who is, again, he feels his face and he feels that he is, you know, tortured and scarred and hurt and wounded. And he talks to him nicely, he treats him well. Again, another unfortunate set of circumstances when other people show up and panic and try to attack the monster. Then, of course, he freaks out and, you know, knocks over some candles, the place burns down, you know, so on and so forth. But anyway, the original Frankenstein, 1931, with Boris Karloff, who, as far as I'm concerned, always was and always will be the greatest portrayal of the creature, the monster from Frankenstein. That is my fifth choice, my real fifth choice. So there you have it. Now the video's over. Bye.